case study is going to be a little bit different than other case studies because this isn't like an endogenous or an innate change in the animals. It's actually something that they get from their environment. This one's going to discuss how common dolphins are affected by a toxin that they get from their food called domoic acid. And this toxin, domoic acid, mimics a neurotransmitter that we talked about a few lectures ago. Again, the toxic domoic acid is produced by a diatom called Pseudonychia. And this is what Pseudonychia looks like here. The diatom produces domoic acid in times of limited nutrition. And this helps chelate additional nutrients to bring into the cell. So it helps attract other nutrients to get into the cell when nutrients are limited. Domoic acid is actually external on the diatom, and other organisms swim around and feed on this diatom. Here are anchovies feeding, and you can see that they are filter feeders. They swim around with their mouth open, and they filter feed diatoms and dinoflagellates, other plankton, out of the water, and this is how they feed. When anchovies are feeding, the food gets stuck on a structure in their gills called gill rakers, and this kind of acts like baleen. So here we have Pseudonychia producing domoic acid. This is getting eaten by the anchovies, and it's all getting trapped on their gill rakers. And then the dolphins are feeding on the anchovies. This toxin is what we call water soluble. It passes through the body, through the urine and the feces. It doesn't store in the body. So for sea lions, like you see here, they can actually sit on the beach and urinate and defecate and pass this out of their system. The dolphins, however, cannot. They don't haul out on a beach like a sea lion does. Because this is water soluble, it also does not bioaccumulate in the body tissues. It only bioaccumulates as the animals eat more of the Pseudonychia from the anchovies. Domoic acid does absorb into the bloodstream during the digestion process, and it absorbs at high concentrations, and it affects the brain. Domoic acid is a glutamate mimicker. It copies the structure of glutamic acid. And glutamic acid is an excitatory neurotransmitter used by 90% of the neurons in the vertebrate brain. Therefore, at high concentrations, glutamate will continue to transmit signals across the synaptic cleft without regulation and increasing the action potential. Can you see where this is going? You're pretty much turning on the brain and the synapses without being able to turn them off. It's like turning on your neurons full blast with no way to shut that down. Domoic acid targets the hippocampus of the brain. This region is responsible for memory, and this is why when humans ingest domoic acid, it causes amnesic shellfish poisoning. In marine mammals and birds, it causes the domoic acid causes them to behave erratically, and at elevated concentrations, the animals seizure. Seals and sea lions, again, can haul out on the beach to clear it from their systems through urination and defecation, but dolphins cannot haul out. Dolphins are also active breathers. They need to actively come to the surface to take their next breath. Unlike us, where our breathing is under autonomic nerve response. So you don't actually think about breathing, your body just does it. If dolphins are unaware or seizuring, they cannot come to the surface and breathe, and they end up asphyxiating or running out of oxygen. They don't drown, however, because they will not open their blowholes underwater. Again, this is a natural toxin with little we can do to prevent it. It is also the #1 cause of dolphin mortality in our area. And again, it's a natural part of this food web. The diatoms are the primary producers, and they get their food through photosynthesis. They get their glucose through photosynthesis. Anchovies are the primary consumers feeding on that primary producer, and then dolphins are the secondary consumers feeding on the anchovies. And again, that toxin is getting passed. This is what the toxin looks like. And it's produced by the domoic acid, and it's eaten by the anchovies, stored on the gill rakers, and then ingested by the dolphins. Our second case study is bears and hibernation that we just talked about. Bears have a unique strategy to hibernation, so much so that some question if it really should be called hibernation at all. Most hibernators drop their body temperatures and completely slow down their metabolism. Bears drop their body temperature only slightly, and they don't decrease their lean body mass, their muscle mass, during hibernation. Another difference is that bears do not accumulate urea. Urea is a main component of urine. And most hibernators accumulate their urea through, it's one of the metabolic wastes. And when animals that are hibernating arouse, they will get rid of this. But for bears during hibernation, they are relying on fat for energy, and the lipids provide much of the glucose that gets converted from glycerol that they need for cellular respiration. They also have a really unique way to recycle their urea rather than storing it during hibernation and eliminating it once aroused. Remember that when bears arouse, they are not active, they're not eating, and they're not urinating or defecating. So the urea in their bloodstream that is produced from protein metabolism diffuses into their gut, where they have special bacteria that can actually digest the urea. The bear then digests the bacteria and absorbs the nutrients back into their bloodstream. They're actually recycling the urea. These nutrients can then be used to make new proteins. How cool is that? All right, this will be the end of the whole neurosystem. But remember that this is causing everything else in your body to work and to stay functioning on normal rhythms and normal scales. So we're going to keep bringing this up and keep talking about these points.